Intel's new laptop chips. Holy crap, pretty good. Vietnam wants to ban ads you can't skip, and it looks like we're going back to 2020 again, folks. Get ready to have your PCs be old. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're gonna be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. And we're gonna start off with the reports coming out about Intel's Core Ultra Series 3 processors. Now, this isn't something that I've talked about a lot on Hot News this week because we've been dealing with a sponsorship from Intel with regards to other content that we're going to be making, but I want to highlight some experiences that other tech media has been having with these chips and kind of give you some insight into what we've been having, but we'll have other official content coming out about this later. So Engadget publishing this article about their experience with the Ultra Series 3, and more specifically the B390 GPU that's built into the Core Ultra X9 388H as well as the Ultra X7 chips. And what they found was that this thing freaking rips. Not only did Intel give people the ability to benchmark games, we had our full hands-on experience today where they said, benchmark any game you want, can't do CPU tests just yet, but again, any game, whether it's installed on the system already, or if you want to download your own, test whatever you want. They had the B390 open and available to tech media in a way that I haven't seen in a launch in a very long time. But they also had not just the hardware on showcase, but their new software stuff on showcase with their XeSS 3 technology and their multi-frame gen implementation that they're having for one of the first times on integrated graphics. And in fact, I talked to some other tech media who was like, this isn't the first integrated GPU with multi-frame gen. Technically, the DGX Spark does support it, but Intel implementing it into their B390, and what Engadget found was that this thing absolutely ripped in terms of Battlefield 6, and according to Intel themselves, is around 80% faster than the Radeon 890M. So they got 190 FPS on Battlefield 6 with their testing, and for us, I wasn't able to test Battlefield 6, and in fact, I don't play it, so I didn't want to do that, but one of the games that I've been enjoying the most lately is Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and I've been playing that on my Xbox Ally X, getting a modest frame rate, and I can tell you that the B390 absolutely put to shame what I got on the Z2 Extreme chip on the Ally X, and that was without multi-frame gen. But one of the things that was most surprising that's also highlighted here in the Engadget article was that the sense of lag from multi-frame gen was essentially non-existent. Now, the Engadget writer does highlight that they were playing on controller and that maybe they could have felt it with a high DPI gaming mouse, but that's what we had when we were connected to the same Lenovo laptop. And I can tell you, I've tried NVIDIA's DLSS 4, I've tried it on, a 5090, a RTX Pro 6000. I can always feel when frame gen's turned on, or like with the Z2 Extreme, frame gen gets turned on with the game sometimes. It is a noticeably laggier experience. The input latency is noticeable, but with Intel's implementation, it was almost imperceptible. It was wild just how good they've gotten the latency aspect. And we got a presentation from Tom Peterson, who discussed how Intel has gone through all of this testing and architecturing and engineering to make sure that they're actually giving you a latency sensitive application of multi-frame gen. And it honestly showed through with the testing that we had on hands with today at CES with their Arc B390 graphics. And again, these things are available for pre-order. You can go pre-purchase them right now at select retailers. I'm honestly incredibly impressed. I want to get my hands on a retail sample and benchmark it myself, but with the time we had today, Intel has absolutely won the show for us. And again, this is not sponsored by Intel. We have our own sponsor content being posted separately, but this was, reviewing other people's experiences and then talking about our own. But one experience that you might want to have is having a computer in the palm of your hands or in the tips of your hands, with HP announcing that they have their Elite Board G1A, which is a Ryzen powered Windows 11 membrane keyboard that allows you to get a computer in a keyboard. I don't like the fact that it's membrane and it's based on the Ryzen AI 300 series, which is also a predecessor to the 400 series, which got announced and was basically the same thing. But we've seen this in other implementations from kind of smaller upstarts trying to make a name for themselves. First time seeing a big company like HP do this. I don't know that I would necessarily pick this up, but it is a neat implementation, and I like the idea of where these super ultra portable form factor PCs are going. And I don't like the direction that Razer's going with them showing off at CES Project Ava, which is an integrated AI desk companion that you're supposed to interact with, and it's a gaming assistant, and you can chat with it, and it can either be this Razer logo, which is their Ava personality, or you've got other companions like Kira, Zane, Faker, the esports legend, and Sal. There's a lot going on here. You know, it's kind of it's a thing. It makes sense that Razer would be doing this of all things, but the aspect that I'm most concerned with is that this is powered by Grok, which is in a lot of hot water for what they allow their AI to do, and the fact that Razer's partnering with them for a waifu experience, I don't know what people are gonna do with Faker on this, and I'm quite concerned for his brand reputation moving forward. But you know, let me know if you're gonna pick up one of these things, if you're interested, if this you know, you want to chat with a little speaker looking thing on your desk, let me know. And I want to chat with a little bearded looking thing back at my desk in South Africa, but he can give you deals first.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals on the internet, and here's your first deal. Starting us off, we have the ID Cooling SE224XTS. The CPU air cooler is available in black for only $14.99, making it $15 off. But then continuing the 50% off, we have the Logitech G502X wired gaming mouse, available for only $44.99, making it $45 off. And then last, we have the Corsair RM750X Shift. The 750 watt 80 plus gold fully modular side address power supply is going for $79.99, making it $75 off. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, Vietnam thinks that YouTube's gotten too good a deal when it comes to ads, and they want to ban and outlaw unskippable ads or fake skippable ads, making it illegal to not give you the option to pass all this advertisement after 5 seconds, or having skip ad buttons that aren't real, with them being in discussion right now with YouTube, or at least the Vietnamese government trying to tell YouTube that they need to offer up this option by February 15th to make it so that their citizens can have a way to actually engage with content that's less intrusive. But the way they're doing this is asking for YouTube to give them their own like VPN service to be able to do this, and whether or not Google's going to actually give into that for the country of Vietnam, it's not quite clear if that's going to happen or if that's going to play out, but we'll keep you updated on all of that as it's happening. And Nvidia, while they didn't have any new graphics cards to show off at CES, they did have a new DLSS implementation with 4.5 being announced, and them increasing the amount of AI frames they want to give you, and that's 5 for every one rastered frame, with new 6x frame gen and dynamic frame gen, as well as a new generation super resolution transformer model that is a new update that's only going to be really good on 40 and 50 series cards, and if you try to use it on the 20 and 30, you're going to have a performance hit. So DLSS 4.5 being announced, also coming in with dynamic multi-frame generation mode, where it's going to choose between 1 and 6 times depending on whatever FPS target you're trying to hit, which I think I like a little bit more than just having the static one. But as mentioned with the Intel portion at the beginning of Hot News, I have not necessarily enjoyed NVIDIA's implementation of multi-frame gen with turning on reflex or any other aspect to try to reduce the latency. With the 4x multi-frame gen has always led to an experience where I can tell this is significantly laggier. The input from the mouse movement to what I'm seeing on the screen just feels floaty and weird, whereas with Intel, it did not feel that way in the slightest. And I don't know if 6x is gonna help those things, but you can also swap it out with the DLSS swapper, allowing you to put in 4.5 to other games that used to support different versions. Actually, one of the things I forgot to mention about the Intel experience is that with their control panel utility that they use to control all of the things with regards to ARC graphics, you can just swap in XeSS 3 for any XeSS 2 supported titles just straight from their software. So they're allowing this swapping directly from Intel's own software, which is kind of a neat little implementation. But as mentioned, the new DLSS 4.5, it leads to a roughly 20+% performance loss thanks to the FP8 acceleration that's in the 40 and 50 series cards, but not in the previous 20 and 30 series series card, so you're not supposed to enable it on the old stuff, even if Jensen says they might be bringing back the old stuff. So we talked about this in yesterday's episode of Hot News, that there's reports coming out that the 3060 is likely going to make its way back to the market despite it being dead for a couple of years now, with Tom's Hardware asking CEO Jensen Huang, hey, old GPUs maybe? And Jensen says, yeah, possibly, and we could possibly, depending on which generation. We could also bring the latest generation AI technology to the previous generation cards, and that will require a fair amount of engineering, but it's also within the realm of possibility. I'll go back and take a look at this. It's a good idea. Kind of strange considering it's already reported that it's likely to happen this quarter, but it's also intriguing that maybe they might bring back the RTX 3060 with some extra AI implementations, maybe the FP8 added to it so that they could do the DLSS 4.5 and get you the 6X multi-frame gen. So it's a new experience on an old card, but you're still stuck in 2020 for the most part. But it's not just NVIDIA saying these things. Tom's Hardware was all over asking these serious questions about, hey, there's an actual consumer crisis going on right now. This is the Consumer Electronics Show. What are you doing about it? And AMD's Ryzen chief talking about how Zen 3 CPUs might be making their way back to town, especially this is known as the Ryzen 5000 generation, with AMD saying that they're certainly looking at everything that it can do to bring more supply and kind of reintroduce products back into the AM4 ecosystem to satisfy the demands of gamers that maybe want that significant upgrade in their AM4 platform without having to rebuild their entire system, and that this is definitely something AMD is very actively working on. We've already kind of talked about how there's motherboard manufacturers that bringing out brand new AM4 boards, DDR4 boards are kind of hitting the scenes, and it was just kind of hypothesized that AMD should really get back on this Ryzen 5000 train, because that's what people are going to be able to buy with their current RAM kits. They're not necessarily going to be able to upgrade to a brand new platform with AM5. So if they want any sales whatsoever, bringing back a 5700 X3D is likely going to behoove the consumers and potentially actually lead to some sales to AMD as opposed to no sales. And then also AMD was asked about, hey, the open source FSR 4 thing that you kind of accidentally did a few months back, what's going on with that? Turns out AMD is trying to work as openly as possible, and that the long-term plan is to have an open release for FSR 4, and that should happen sometime in the future. But some real questions getting asked for consumers, actual journalists talking to these companies that want to talk to corporations and shareholders, trying to get them to hold the task on, hey, this is the Consumer Electronics Show. You got any consumer goods for us? You got any plans for that? NVIDIA, AMD, not so much. It's honestly Intel who's the real showstopper here with their brand new Core Ultra Series 3 processors, the Arc B390, just really making the expectations hit for me. I really have appreciated what I've gotten to see and experience with Panther Lake here at CES. But let's see what I get to experience with your comments from yesterday's episode of Hot News. We got Hypno saying 3060 stumbling to its feet, saying, I ain't hear no bell. That gave me a little good chuckle, so thank you, Hypno, for that. And then we got Crypto Force saying, I've got my gripes with NVIDIA as much as the next guy, but AMD, to my disappointment, was hardly any better. 95% AI and data center slop. This CES is a disappointment all around. I just, again, submit Intel, probably the best consumer-facing product out of the big three when it comes to what Panther Lake is offering. Maybe you're not interested in thin and lights, maybe you're not interested in integrated graphics. I think this is going to be a pretty big deal, especially considering the price point on some of these. The ones that are up for pre-order on Best Buy and B&H were $1,300 for this B390 version with 32 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD and like the MSI 14-inch OLED foldable version. Like, just a pretty decent deal when it comes to how much RAM costs these days, as well as some other stuff. Like, I'm pretty impressed with what we've got going on from Intel with that. There's probably going to be some discrete GPU versions that are coming out with like RTX graphics cards. But one of the things that they talked about at the Intel keynote was that they do have plans for a handheld kind of ecosystem that they're working on, and that'll be discussed more in 2026. And after getting to experience the B390 on a Lenovo laptop that was, I think the resolution was 2880 by 1800, experiencing how smooth it was on that high of resolution, and then thinking, oh, if we bring this down to like 800, 1080p, this thing's gonna rip on handheld. I'm pretty excited for what we're gonna get in 2026 on that front. Integrated graphics looking pretty good on that side. And then Underworld Jumbo saying, what is happening behind you? So much movement. That's a testament to man's hubris right there. This is a desert where lights are flashing all over. That's the sphere. That's the big big old ball of lights that never stops here in Vegas. We just happen to get a hotel room that's overlooking it. It's pretty neat. And then we got Armageddon saying, I never realized how much you sound like Kermit the Frog. I don't hear it. Michael?
I don't hear it either.
Yeah, I've gotten Morty before. I can hit a Morty. Not intentionally, but I can do it.
This dude's been known to hit a Morty.
But Kermit, that's a new one. I haven't gotten the Kermit comment before. And then we got Graxer saying, do you ever have that feeling that every single aspect of your life is just getting worse one corporate decision at a time? It's exhausting. Who TF wants to pay for Copilot? Seriously, not me. I dropped 365 2 years ago. XPS was stupid, and now WD Black and Blue have both turned into some random acronym soup. And you just know that there will be an associated 25% price bump with the rebranding too. I just gotta disagree. I don't think my life gets worse from any of these decisions. I mean, as you mentioned, you dropped 365. It seems like your life didn't get worse unless your replacement for 365 wasn't as good. But my life is not made up of these things. I'm enjoying a lot of stuff in life. I'm enjoying a lot of tech. There's some good stuff out there. It's just the things that make the news happen to be some of the most stupid decisions that happen to be made. But is my life really made worse by Microsoft rebranding Office to 365 Copilot? Not at all. Is my life made worse by it's now being called Optimus instead of WD Black? No, not really. It's gonna hurt my brain a couple times when I call it a WD Black, and then I'm like, oh, it's not that. Or like we were at the Newegg booth today and they had WD Black stuff on showcase. It's like, oh, that's not real anymore. I don't take this kind of stuff all that seriously, so it doesn't necessarily make my life worse. All of the aspects of my life that are under my control, which is kind of what I consider my life is made up of, is the things I actively choose to participate in. I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time. Certain aspects are problematic. There's certain aspects of what's going on in the world, the situation that had me a little stressed, but it's not the corporate decisions that are doing that. It's Michael.
No!
You're making my life worse, bud.
I'm sorry.
We gotta rectify this situation.
I'm not gonna stop.
We're gonna go rectify this. I'll see you back here for more of the hottest tech news. That seems, you know what? I'll end it there, whatever.